Hi, my name is Tamara, and you are watching Things Even a Monkey Should Know. Thanks for joining me again today. As you know, if you've watched a few of my other videos, I'm not a professional at this do-it-yourself stuff. I'm just a girl who's figured out that there are a lot of things around the house and in the yard and on my cars that I can do myself and save myself a whole lot of money, and hopefully maybe now you too, since you know that you can do this stuff too. So today I'm going to be tackling electricity again, and I'm going to be changing out a regular light switch for a wirelessly controlled light switch that I can put an app on my smartphone and turn the switch or turn the light on and off that way. So what I'm going to show you today would actually apply if you're just going to change out one regular light switch for another, but since I'm going to go to the trouble, then it'll be fun to do a wireless one. So let's get started. So as always, what do we do first? We always go over the things that we're going to need today. So of course, you will need to have the light switch that you're going to replace. For me, that's over on the other wall, and it's easier to show you the other things over here first. Other than that, the most important thing is going to be a voltage tester. It always just gives you an extra reassurance that you're not going to get shocked and fried, which is always a nice thing to have. So these mine was a little bit more expensive because it tests continuity too, but you can get a voltage tester for about $10 at your local home improvement store. It is a worthy investment, so do it. You're going to need a screwdriver. Be sure to match it to the type of screws that are on your electrical outlet. You're going to need some pliers. I didn't know if I was going to need bigger ones or smaller ones, so I have both. Of course, you're also going to need your light switch that you're going to change to, and in my case, as I said, I'm changing to a wireless. See if I can get the box open. And I happen to have chosen to use the Wemo brand, well, it's Belkin brand, but their Wemo line of wireless light switches and stuff. So there are plenty of other brands. So here's what it looks like coming out of the box. They should all go in approximately the same. If you're changing out for a regular light switch, it also should be about the same. The only other thing you're going to need today, of course, is to know where your fuse box is so that you can turn off the power to the switch that you're going to be working on. So I happen to know where mine is, and I'm going to flip it off like that. And then I'm going to go check and see if the light went out from the switch that I'm going to be working on. So you guys are just going to have to take my word for it that I checked for sure, and the light that is connected to this switch, which is outside, is off. I do not want to have to go outside any more than I'm forced to today because it's super cold and windy, and then there's sleet and ice, and that's why I was looking for something to do inside today. So I'm going to go ahead, and obviously I don't have anywhere that I can test yet with my voltage tester. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this off. Well, actually, I did have somewhere I could test. There's an outlet that is attached to this same line that I could test if I wanted to, but I always like to test and be certain that what I'm working on does indeed not have any voltage running to it. So obviously I still can't get to the wires, so I'm going to go ahead. Wow, a big blast of cold air just came in through this out of the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unscrew. Now I have this all unscrewed, and I'm going to pull out a big mass of wires in here. And in order to install my light switch, if you're just changing them out, you just basically look at what there is right here already, and you just put the wires back exactly as you found them. So of course the black wires are the hot wires, and there's white, which is a neutral. These are not always present. To put in this particular wireless light switch, you do have to have the neutral wire present. Sometimes there's a green grounding wire, which I actually have those, and they're shoved way back in there, and they're so short that I can't use them, but they are not absolutely required. So you just want to kind of remember how these were put in. You don't want to yank on things too hard. They're all screwed in pretty tight into the wire nuts though. But I'm going to go ahead and just release the two black wires from this, hopefully. This is probably where where my pliers would come in handy. There we go. Silly girl. That's why we had our pliers available anyways. So now we have our wires free. Okay, I know it's not so fun just looking at wires, but I'm trying to get this up as close as possible so that you guys can really see what I'm doing. So these were the two wires that, and I'm showing you from two different sides too, so I hope this isn't confusing. These are the two wires that I just dislodged finally from the back of that other switch. And here's the new switch. So they very kindly included wires hanging out of the back of the switch. And all that you're going to do is you're going to match up these wires and wire nut them all together. So they also sent wire nuts. This is the grounding wire, which like I said, mine are shoved way back in there. They're really short and I can't get to them. It's ideal to have this wire connected, but you don't have to. It's just mostly to make sure that if lightning strikes your house or something, that it helps keep your switches and everything from blowing up, or not blowing up. But it keeps, this switch would probably be ruined, but so would probably the rest of your house. So I'm going to grab their couple wire nuts, and these are the two switches that actually kind of bring on the electricity. So what you want to do, and they're interchangeable the way that they're connected, so you just want to put them together kind of, and then these wire nuts are really neat because they will actually screw your wires together and hold them together tightly, and so they'll make a connection. Wire nuts are pretty awesome, and you just screw them until they feel reasonably tight, and that means that the two wires that were supposed to be connected in there are now connected. So I'm going to do the two black ones together. Again, it doesn't matter which black goes with which black. And going to do that, and then I'm going to do my neutral, which is the white. So as you can see, it already has a wire nut on it. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that. You can see those wires are all twisted together really well. And since I have a new wire nut, there's no reason not to just go ahead and use the new one to put back on it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and screw it all together until it's really good and tight. So now that everything is wired shut, and notice, whoops, I just dropped a screw. You can't see any wire hanging out the bottom of these. I see people do it both ways, and in fact, there was some hanging out whenever I opened it up, but I'm not real comfortable with bare wire hanging out because there's a reason why there's all this insulation and stuff on these wires. So I went ahead and trimmed it and made all of the bare wire fit up into the wire nut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shove everything out of the way. There's a little bit of space over here to one side, and then I'm going to shove this box in here, retrieve that screw, and I'm going to, because these screws are so long and frustrating to screw in by hand, I'm going to very carefully screw them most of the way with my power screwdriver. So of course now's the time for me to flip the switch, see if anything pops, crackles, or smokes. You know I'm just kidding. I have lots of faith in my electrical work. So let's see if it works. So it's the moment of truth. I can see that there's power flowing to it because its little Wi-Fi thingy started lighting up, but does the light outside come on? Yay! I'm happy to say it does, and there's no reason why it shouldn't have, but sometimes it's just really nice to get that affirmation. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flip it back off, and I'm going to go ahead and stick their faceplate on, which I had waited to do because I'm not for sure how to get it off once it's on, because it just snaps on there. And if you were installing a regular light switch, you are now done. I'm not going to go through how to set this up with the wireless stuff because obviously you'll be able to do that on your own, and if you have a different wireless light switch, all of the apps are going to be set up differently. But it's the same setup whether you're doing wireless or whether you're doing just a light switch change out. And wow, that was easy. So I don't really expect that you're going to be able to see the app that well on my phone, but it's loads of fun. It's right here. I just hit the button, it comes on, and I don't have to touch the switch. I don't have to be in the same room, and I can just turn it on and off. And no, I did not just get this because of the fun toy aspect, but because of safety, and so I can use it to turn on the light for my car whenever I get home late and all that stuff. But it is loads of fun to have a light switch on a remote. So wasn't that almost unbelievably easy to do? It took me a whole lot longer to film it than it did to actually do it. But probably the hardest thing was me getting the wires out of the back of that light switch, because they were really jammed in there really hard. And of course, if I just used the pliers, then it would have been so much easier, I know. You probably noticed that I did not use the voltage tester, even though I thought that I was going to. If the wires had been wrapped around the screw on the side of the switch, then I would have used the voltage tester just as a double check, you know, to be sure that the electricity was turned off, though I was already certain because the light was turned off. And something that y'all didn't see, I did shove the voltage tester into the power outlet that's associated with that switch, and it came up negative. And I'm sure you know, but in case you don't, voltage testers, of course, light up when there is electricity present, and they are just dark when there's nothing. So it's still a good idea to have one, no matter what. It's the only thing that you can safely shove into a power outlet. And I'm really excited now because I've wanted to have a wireless switch for quite some time on my back porch, because I do live out in the sticks, and if I get home after dark and I've forgotten to leave a light on, it is super dark here, and there's a lot of wild animals, and you know, if I'm going to be stumbling across a snake or something, I want to be able to see what it is. So with this one, I can turn it on 20 minutes before I get home if I want to. So I think that's pretty awesome. And you know, again, if you were installing a regular light switch, you would have just had one less wire to deal with, which you wouldn't have used a neutral wire. You would have just put the two hot wires in. So it's super easy either way. So I hope that you learned something. I hope this helped you. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Thanks so much for joining me on this cold and disgusting day. I hope that you're staying warm, and I'll see you again soon.